Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I mean, this isn't Inception. Let's be clear. The whiff of a romantic comedy, even though it's got Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner being amazing, is still quite a hard sell. But that said, there's something really kind of sweet about it.
This is like a masterful performance, I feel like. She should have got an Oscar. I don't know who won in 2004, but she's so good.
I thought this could be my chance to finally bring 13 Going on 30 to Netflix and introduce Kobi to it. So,
I mean, that's the best 200th birthday present.
Is it?
Hello, I'm Sam Clements, and welcome to Flixwatcher, where we review films on Netflix and score them with our unique scoring system. Today I'm joined by
Louise, Owen,
and
Kobi,
and
Helen.
Welcome to Flixwatcher, guys.
Yay! Whoop, whoop.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
At FlixWatcherPod, and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher.
It's very kind of you to take time out of your busy day to join our podcast, which reviews films on Netflix, which don't have to be under 90 minutes long. They could be over 90 minutes long. That's totally fine. It's a broad church here.
Thanks for inviting us.
I know it's an honour to be in the guest seat, but it's all about you guys. You guys are turning 200.
Yeah,
Getting old.
Got grey hairs in places that shouldn't be great.
You're looking great for it, though.
Yeah, I mean, 200 films old. That's or 200 films young, let's say. It's a good look. You wear it well.
Thank you very much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for hosting. And it kind of feels a little bit weird to be on the other side.
Does it feel a bit like a night off for you? You can crack open a glass of wine. Actually, I've got a beer. Let's crack open the beer on mic. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, I've still got a man spreadsheet, haven't I?
Yeah. That's rich sound there. But no, it's. I mean, that's a huge achievement for any podcast. But you know, your podcast involves watching a film every episode. So you guys have watched 200 movies for this show,
and that's not including there's some we haven't recorded because people pulled out last minute for legitimate reasons. So maybe it's like 205 films we've watched.
Yeah.
Wow. Any particular film highlights or anything that was you thought would not be very good but have turned out to be pretty great? Anything surprised you?
Yeah, some film discoveries. I
think I hadn't seen or even heard of All About Eve before David Barnes brought it in, and I thought it was a fantastic film. It's one of those, you know, in spite of myself as a film fan, sometimes an old film, black and white, I'm just like, nah, not for me. But I need to get over myself a lot more to do that. So it's good when people bring in films like that that get you out of your head a bit more. So yeah, that was a really cool one for me.
Probably not one that surprised me, but one from someone I'd never heard of before. Jeanette brought Agnes Varda's Faces Places on, and that was my first introduction to Agnes Varda, and absolutely loved it. And I've since seen a couple of her shorts that are on Mubi. And so thanks, Jeanette, for introducing me to her.
That's Jeanette Barr from
really nice, isn't it?
Sudden Double Deep podcast.
Another great podcast. It's
It
really
is.
nice when sort of doing a show like this, which relies on the guests to kind of, well, basically decide your viewing, but when they actually choose a stone cold banger or something which is like a discovery like this, and it kind of sticks with you for those reasons. But it's put a lot of trust in your guests.
And a special shout out probably as well for you guys for bringing The Holiday, which I had never seen before and was pleasantly surprised that it was more enjoyable than I had anticipated. And now whenever I see anything related to The Holiday, I just think of you guys. So thank you for introducing that.
It's lovely to hear. It's always good when you recommend someone a film and they're like, yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate it. Which is the most you can hope for from The Holiday, really.
No, I mean it's Nancy Meyers' magnum opus, and it's a 5-star masterpiece. But whatever.
Come on.
I think you're right, though. It's like,
let's be serious now.
As people who've been guests on Flixwatcher, there's a lot of pressure on, like, I want to choose something that would be really fun to talk about, and also like Kobi and Helen won't hate. And I think The Holiday was like really, I felt like I was on thin ice when I chose that. But I think you want to be sort of like, you're always thinking about those two things. Like, I don't want to annoy the people who've kindly asked me on the show, but also I want it to be like an entertaining pod. And it's quite hard to find that, because you could choose like a canonical 5-star masterpiece where everybody's like, yeah, it's really good. End of conversation.
Because I'm less fussed about the quality of the film. I think it kind of bums Helen out more if it's a crap film we're watching. So I think that's why we started asking people to maybe bump it a bit higher. But The Holiday is the kind of perfect bit where 50% people will really love it. 25% will just be like, yeah, that's all right. And there'll be like 25% people that say it's crap. So you get a nice kind of spread of people there. And I was very much of I'd seen the poster, I don't want to watch this film. But happy to watch it because you chose it, and we know and trust you, so I was happy to watch it. And I was of the Louise's, as Louise said exactly, it's like, yeah, it's all right. That's it. That's all I've got to say to it. But is it Nancy Meyers' magnum opus? I think that's reserved for Father of the Bride, isn't it? That's the best one. That's the best Nancy Meyers.
I mean, like, when you're making films at perfection level, the tiers are they're all so close together.
Eugene Levy. No, it's Eugene Levy. Martin Short. Is Eugene Levy in?
Short and Steve Martin, yeah. Eugene Levy, I think, is actually in it. Is a very small.
Oh yeah,
role.
He's in it for like 5 seconds.
I think they're Bezzy Powell's from back in the day. I think she wrote a film he directed at one point there, but I don't know. I mean, it's all gold, isn't it, with Nancy? The Holiday is a perennial film that's like on Netflix all the time as well. So listeners, if you haven't seen it, check it out.
I'm going to stop you there, Sam, because we are not here to talk about The Holiday.
No, this is very true.
No, we are here to talk about Helen's choice.
Yeah, so I guess for listeners who are sort of expecting the guests to bring the film, you've turned the format on its head for the 200th episode, and you guys are picking films, and yeah, tonight we're going to talk about Helen's choice, which is very exciting. Helen, what did you pick for Flixwatcher?
Well, we nominated 4 films. So I nominated 4 films. It was 13 going on 30, Mistress America, St. Francis, and Bram Stoker's Dracula. And 13 going on 30 ran away with the vote with 41%. So thank you, voters. The people have spoken. To be honest, certainly. I did not think this was going to win. I was quite surprised. But the people have spoken. And yeah, 13 going on 30 it is.
I'd never heard of this film before this.
You've never heard of it?
What? When Helen said her suggestions, I was like, oh, we could see Bram Stoker's Dracula again. I thought I was going to run away with it. I was vying for that or Mistress America. I know I'm going to watch St. Francis soon because it's been on the list for recent, but I just completely ignored 13 going on 30 because I thought that just wasn't going to win. I didn't know what it was. I was like, I didn't care because I didn't think it was going to win. So now, I've had to watch it. Thank you, Twitter.
I was excited that this was on the docket.
I think the reason I ended up putting it on here is that having done 200 episodes and not one person has yet to pick it, I thought this could be my chance to finally bring 13 Going on 30 to Netflix and introduce Kobi to it. So,
I mean, that's the best 200th birthday present.
Is it?
Oh, I'm sensing a bit of hostility.
Oh, this is
from
exciting.
Kobi
It's going to be a
this.
juicy
Don't-
episode.
Oh, I can't wait.
Don't break my heart, Kobi. So,
Oh.
13 going on 30. It's kind of a straight... I was thinking about the synopsis, and the easiest sort of way to say it is Jenna is turning 13, and she is celebrating her 13th birthday in classic 80s style party, except she's not quite the cool girl she wants to be. She's a little bit nerdy. Her best friend is kind of a nerdy guy, and the party doesn't go quite well. She doesn't get to kiss the boy she wants. She thinks it's a disaster and wishes that she could be 30, flirty and thriving. And through the power of some magic dust and trickery, she wakes up as a 30-year-old woman.
So I think that was a very, it was a
Very
good,
succinct,
succinct plot synopsis for this one. Yeah, this is a high concept movie, and I think it's important to get the nuance.
The nuance.
I mean, it's wild, isn't it?
It's wild.
Yeah, so we kind of spend most of the film in the adult period of Jenna's life, and Jenna is played so cute and charming and a lot of fun by Jennifer Garner, and her grown-up best mate Beaver Matty is the wonderful Mark Ruffalo, and we've also got Judy Greer in supporting cast, and
Serkis.
Andy Serkis as her boss, and she's 30, flirty and thriving, living in New York. She's the editor of Poise magazine, and things are sort of going right. You would think it's, she's got her dream, but turns out it's not. And she kind of is. I mean, I don't like to say it's a female version of Big, because it isn't, and they are kind of different, but it's sort of a bit like Big. So if you're seeing Big, kind of, you're seeing an adult life through children's eyes, and it's kind of a bit like that.
It's a shortcut to explain it, but it is kind of reductive just to say it's a female version of Big. But it's a shortcut to explain the kind of idea behind it, isn't it?
It sort of gives you a flavour for what to expect. And, cinema loves making those comparisons for marketing. They also love body swap films because it's quite a fun filmic technique there. So I sort of get why they might put that on the poster, or a critic might go, it's the female version of Big.
Well, one thing we were Helen and I don't know if you remember this discourse on our Film Quiz WhatsApp chat, where one of the guys said, no, there's body swap films and there's age up films, or whatever the term was, where it's still the same person, but they've aged up within like overnight or something like that, and suddenly that's a different body. Whereas like Freaky Friday, Freaky, and other ones, there's a swap between like the mum and the daughter kind of thing. So there's a slight nuance there, which is why Big is a more accurate comparison to Freaky Friday, for example, if you think about it.
That's a good point. It's like the if video stores were still a thing, that would be sort of like just the sub-genre, the next shelf along. They wouldn't quite be next to each other. So Kobi hasn't seen this film before, I don't think.
No.
From the chat, from the vibes I'm getting.
Yeah.
But Helen, you have?
I've seen. So this came out in 2004. I think I saw it at the cinema. I've seen it quite a lot of times. Kobi, your first experience as an adult with 13 going on 30.
Well, you were an adult as well, weren't you? How old are you at 24?
Yeah. So I was neither 13 nor 30, but I was in between.
Sure. So
You're still thriving, though.
I think I saw this after seeing Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and hence the interest in watching this.
Mark Ruffalo.
For Mark Ruffalo, basically.
Yeah, it's my first time watching it at 41 and 2 months. Not the biggest fan, to be honest with you. But what I did really like, I think Jennifer Garner is amazing in this. This is probably my favourite Jennifer Garner role. I think it's such an interesting thing. I know reading a lot about how Tom Hanks played his character in Big. He just hung around with the younger Josh Baskin, and just I think they pretty much played around with each other until the scene started, and then Tom just kind of took on his vibe for the show. And I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a similar kind of thing for this. And I'm not that big a fan of the Harry Potter films so much, but one of the things I love the most about it is when one of my favourite parts in Harry Potter is when Helena Bonham Carter takes on Hermione's character, and she does it superbly. When it's Helena Bonham Carter playing her character, or it's Helen Bonham Carter playing Hermione, and that's probably genuinely my favourite part of Harry Potter is that thing. And it's a similar kind of thing here with Jennifer Garner. She plays a young girl kind of trapped in this ridiculous situation immensely. I think she just does it really well. And that's the thing that drives me through this film. I'm not that keen on the rest of it, but we'll talk about that in a second.
I do think Garner's performance in this is brilliant. She is so good at all of the comedy stuff, and she manages to do that sort of wide-eyed, surprised face throughout the whole thing so well. So you genuinely believe she's just got no idea what's going on. She's got no idea what's happening to her.
It's sort of a side of, I don't know if Jennifer Garner has had a chance to do anything like this since, but this is a masterful performance. I feel like she should have got an Oscar. I don't know who won in 2004, but she's so good. And I think that because before this, there's quite that hard scene of young Jenna at the party where she's trying to impress the sort of the bullies who are, I guess the queen bee kind of schoolgirls, and they just totally take advantage of her and are so mean, and she's so eager to please. And seeing Jennifer Garner play that, who is, this amazing actress in her prime, in the next scene after the body swap happens, it's amazing staging. I think the pacing is incredible, and that first introduction to her, what an introduction.
She just falls out of bed.
Yeah, in this crazy apartment, after being in that childhood basement. It's one of my favorite intros to anything I've seen for a while. That character, it sets everything up about her in that first scene.
It's also one of those kind of fake nostalgia films, because obviously we get to experience the 80s soundtrack and the fashion and being a child in the 80s, but the film's not from the 80s. It's just kind of setting that period, and we kind of fast forward to 2004, and she kind of brings some of that nostalgia with it. So it has that kind of thing which has blown up a lot more recently with Stranger Things, in kind of recreating the kind of nostalgia that we feel in modern times. So for me, kind of being that sort of probably a little bit younger, but kind of having those teenage sort of 80s memories in there, I can kind of feel all of her 80s-ness. And when she's living out the party she has in our house with all the little kids and they listen to the 80s music, it's just it's like that real it's this kind of nostalgia that I'm feeling. So there's a big part of that. We are young,
heartache to heartache. Then the rest of that, but yeah, that was a great scene. When she did the Thriller dance, it's hard now watching Michael Jackson. Anything to do with Michael Jackson, and they did it well. And the Thriller video is still one of the best music videos ever made, and they did the dance really cool. Did the dance really well. It's kind of it's weird when it's a suspense of disbelief that she's gone from 13 to 30. But for me, it's everyone knows the Thriller dance, do they? Because it's actually quite a hard dance to do.
I did think does everybody at this big New York fashion party knows all of the moves to Thriller?
They could just jump at any point and start doing the ding ding.
Yeah, it does make a bit more sense if you think about it of it's just a weird dream she's having. Yeah. Because then you're oh yeah, of course she would go to a party and do a dance and it would save the party.
But why would she put herself in kind of scenarios where she's confronted with a 30-year-old man for the first time and he's shaking his bits around? Is part of the theory is part of your theory that she's in a dream, that she's...
I think she's dreaming the whole thing, because one of the things pointed out is when she's reading the 30, Flirty and Thriving article, the apartment she ends up living in when she's 30 is the apartment from the magazine article. Okay. So I think everything that she's seeing, she's well, obviously I'm going to live in that apartment and I'm going to edit this magazine. I'm going to have a really hot sporty boyfriend because the boy she fancies is an athlete. Right. The blonde kid who turns up. So I think it's all her projecting so I'm going to do this, this and this and this.
And that's why she saves the party with doing a fun dance along. Yes. She, I guess, saves the magazine in a very sort of childlike way, maybe.
But she doesn't.
Well, her plan is we'll just do a nice thing with our friends.
I feel as though you've thought way too much about the possible logistics of this happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of time with my hands recently. Yeah.
I think it's best not to kind of think about because it doesn't really make sense, and then the ending kind of doesn't make sense, because I've seen it a lot of times and I have tried to kind of work it out how it could logically make sense, and it wouldn't. So because there's time travel involved then, because we go back in time. So I think it's really, you just kind of, I like to just think of it as a story about basically bullies never really win, and that the people who were mean to you in high school are probably mean in adult life as well, and that you shouldn't really be bothered whether they like you or not, because you can be kind of cool and fun and interesting when you grow up. And I kind of really like the bit where she goes home, and the soundtrack's amazing, but I really love Vienna by Billy Joel in this. And she goes home and she talks to her mum, and she sort of says, like, you know, she's made mistakes, but then she kind of makes them right again. And it's kind of like a nice life lesson about that. Sometimes things don't quite go right, but if they go wrong, you can make them right by being like a good person and trying to fix them in the way you can. So I just think that's really sweet.
Didn't she? Jenna turns into, in her dream or in this reality, she's a bit of a dick though, isn't she? And that's something that's an interesting spin on the story for an age up body stroke thing, because she was like farming out Poise to the other magazine, and she was cheating on her fiance, and she was not that nice a person. And it's in this reality, like literally the day after her 13th birthday, she joined the Mean Girls and then was mean to Matty. So she's not a sympathetic character at all, really. In
not the new version, the version that she dreamt she wanted to be, that version and have those people as friends, but it turns out that wasn't, that how she got there was not very nice, and the way she treated people and her family, like she didn't go home or anything like that. But she kind of learns really that, is that actually what she wanted? Does she want to be part of that club? Does she want to do it that way? She doesn't. Spoilers.
It's that fun. It sort of adds to the meatiness of the performance, isn't it? Like all of the characters reacting to Jennifer Garner when she's being the grown-up 13-year-old character Jenna, and they're like, "Oh, you don't normally talk to me. You're not normally this nice." And there's that really heartbreaking scene where she catches up with Mark Ruffalo, who was, you know, he had a crush on her when he was 13, and he's just like, you were mean, and he just like tells her, and it's quite brutal there, because we've also seen that cute kid at the beginning, who we all warm to, the young Mark Ruffalo character. I think that's what's nice about this film. It's not just like a fluffy kind of comedy or a romance film. Like there's a lot of sort of morals here and a big character development for that role, for the Jenna role, played by Jennifer Garner. But Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo, they are so good together.
What a team! What absolute chemistry!
I really love like this period in Mark Ruffalo's career. He does a lot of rom-coms. I think we've watched a lot of them on Netflix, actually. And people now, I think, discovering Mark Ruffalo because of the Oscar-winning stuff like Spotlight or The Hulk in Avengers. They sort of forget about this sort of period of his life where he was doing a lot of indie films and then a lot of rom-coms, because he was a dreamboat.
Still is, Sam.
Still is.
Still is.
The Kids Are Alright is one of my favourite Ruffalo films. And what's the film, is that Mark Lonergan film that you guys came on with Simon?
Count on Me.
You Can Count on Me. That's an amazing film. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but if it is, do check it out.
No.
The poster makes it look like a rom-com, which is, it's not a rom-com.
No, terrible poster.
Because at this time he was being sold. I guess the distributor was like, "Oh, we got Ruffalo. We'll sell it to the 13 going on 30 crowd."
But I've seen quite a lot of his films. I haven't seen them all, but there are some stinkers. Like Rumour Has It is pretty bad in the romantic comedies. And this one is one of the better ones. Are you going to defend Rumour Has It?
No, I'm going to say, have you seen Just Like Heaven?
Yes, which is
where does
top tier.
Top tier, yes.
Oh,
interesting.
That was a lockdown discovery for us. Really enjoyed it.
Again, like the concept of that one is probably even more bizarre than this, but it's on the right side of kind of fun and interesting, and But he doesn't always kind of play this. I recently saw Margaret, which he is not also a romantic comedy.
That's the other Mark Lonergan film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is on Disney Plus at the moment, if you want to catch that.
Because I think we talked about that as being like a notoriously hard one to find. So that's really nice. Is that now Star Plus? Now Star's part of Disney?
Yeah, it's whatever the film is on there.
It's,
okay, that's really cool to know.
It had a really bad cinema release, that one, and it was quite hard to find. It was one that was like on the being edited or so for about 5 years because of various reasons behind the scenes. So it took a really long time to actually come to cinemas. And I think the star Anna Paquin, she's so much older now than when she was filming the movie. It's sort of quite interesting to see.
But yeah, a very different role for Ruffalo in that. And then I also, thanks for sharing, Begin Again are also favourites of mine.
Yeah, God, he's good in Beginning Again. And that was when he was doing Avengers sort of stuff, so it's kind of nice to slip a rom-com in with Kira in between.
And recently Zodiac as well, so he makes really interesting choices, I think, which is probably why I've kind of followed him over the years. And even when he was doing quite a lot of romantic comedies, he didn't kind of do a Matthew McConaughey and just kind of phone it in and be who he was. He still kind of brought something quite interesting to each of these roles.
I mean, The Kid's All Right is a really interesting film in itself. Obviously, we're not talking about 13 Going 30, but the choice he makes are really interesting. In this, though, was he the best Mark Ruffalo?
I think he's fairly standard Mark Ruffalo.
Standard?
But standard is good.
Standard.
He's not making much of an effort, but he doesn't need to. Because this character isn't like a big showy guy. He's like, yeah, you're a dick to me.
The great thing about Ruffalo, though, is he plays it. I don't know if he is a method actor. I'm not really sure what the distinction is, but he feels like he's a theatre actor. We know that he's a really serious guy.
I don't think he methods Hulk, though, does he, Sam?
No, but he's really like he's in this, what is quite a heightened, romantic comedy, but he's playing it really authentically. I really like that. Like he feels like a real person.
Hurt in this one. You can kind of feel that he's still rejected from being rejected at the age of 13, and that's kind of like with him. You can kind of see it in his eyes.
Yeah, it's like this wounded, like puppy quality to him. I feel like that's what he brings to the Hulk also. There is a fun Marvel connection in here. Did you spot the other Marvel cast member?
We've got 5 Marvel Universe.
Whoa.
5? Yeah.
Okay, well, I was thinking of the Brie Larson role. Brie Larson pops up as a childhood bully, one of the 6 chicks. I think that's
she does, yeah.
She one of the 6?
She was, yeah.
She had a speaking part too, so she's the one who speaks.
So she would have got a slightly bigger paycheck than the other ones. And of course, Serkis. I totally forgot Serkis was in the Marvel films.
Of course he is.
Yeah. Claw. Ulysses Claw?
Ulysses Claw. Who are the other
Black
Marvel
Panther
people?
Well, obviously Elektra, Jennifer Garner.
Of course, yes.
And Judy Greer is in Ant-Man?
Oh, she might be, but it's one of those...
Pretty sure she is. I can just
it's
check.
Like when I rewatch Ant-Man and Bobby Cannavale's in, it's like, oh, Bobby Cannavale's in this. He should be a hero, surely.
Yeah, give him his own film. So 13 Going on 30 is a hotbed for big blockbuster talent.
He's an Ant-Man, yeah, so that's fine.
Brilliant.
Oh, wow. That was good. It's quite fun. I mean, I always find it weird seeing Andy Serkis not as Gollum, especially at this point in time when, like, he wouldn't have been sort of a particularly known, like, named actor.
I think he would have just come off of Lord of the Rings, though.
Yeah, he would have. I think they all would have just about come out, but obviously no one would really recognise him now.
No, that's true. He wasn't like the household name he probably is now.
Done Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll was after this, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a few
and
years.
And again, that would be a super low key British thing anyway. So it's not going to be.
I think that was about
It's not going to be translated.
2009.
Yeah,
2010. I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
My
Lord of
film
the
lab days.
Rings stuff would have been what most people would know him for, and then it's mainly his voice work, isn't it? I'm trying to think what are the films that I can see his actual face in that I've seen where he isn't like an ape or Gollum, and it's just this one because he's so famous for his voice work.
Like I say, Ulysses Claw in Marvel films is a big thing in Black Panther.
That's true, but we all forgot he was in it.
We were talking. I was re-listening to one of our episodes of Flixwatcher, and we were talking about Sam Rockwell. It was an episode of Galaxy Quest, and we were like, "Why has Sam Rockwell never been in the Marvel film?" And of course, he's in Iron Man 2. He's like one of the main bad guys in Iron Man 2. I was like, "You idiot!" I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with the Marvel films. Because they always have these huge casts, and they've got the budget to bring people in for just a small role, even if they're a major actor. So it's quite easy to forget. I think you sort of lose people in the soup, in the Marvel soup.
Yeah. In the Marvel soup. The Marvel superverse, Marvel cinematic superverse.
Okay, that's enough of that. Let's head to the scores. I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have come from the worlds of film, television, music, food, comedy, and podcasting. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com. Now, guys, for this...
Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Recording, you gave us access to your spreadsheet, which, I mean, this is just, it's beautiful reading. Like 200 films on here with some very detailed notes and thoughts.
Don't like destroy the spreadsheet. The world would fall apart if anything happened to that spreadsheet.
What I like about, ratings for films are pretty standard, but most people do sort of like ratings out of like 10 or out of 5. You guys have got 4 categories for films on Flixwatcher, which I do enjoy. We've got recommendability, repeat viewing, small screen score, and engagement. Okay, so let's go to Helen first. Helen, what is your recommendability for 13 going on 30?
See, this is a tricky one because I love this film a lot, and I have recommended it to pretty much everyone who's asked for any lockdown recommended films. This has been on the list alongside Uncut Gems as well. So it's been kind of like a mixed list if you've come to me for any lockdown Netflix recommendations, let's be honest. No one's come back and said that film you recommended me was awful. Please don't ever recommend anything again. So I can only assume it's gone down well. As much as I would love to give this top marks, I feel that it is quite a sell on people, and that for some people, the whiff of a romantic comedy, even though it's got Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner being amazing, is still quite a hard sell. But that said, there's something really kind of sweet about it, and is definitely worth it, even if you kind of are interested in what 2004 Mark Ruffalo was up to. So I'm going to give it a very strong 4.
Oh, okay, that's a good first score on the spreadsheet.
Very solid.
I like that. Kobi, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5. If I recommend it's not 5, sorry. I'm going to give it a 3.
No, it's not Mike.
5. It's official.
It's a 5.
I'm going to give it a 3, and all those scores are for Jennifer Garner's performance, because I think it's knockout, and it kind of makes me sad that I just haven't seen her do anything as exemplary as this. And I think we need more Jennifer Garner in our lives, because I think it's genuinely a hard role to kind of pull this off as playing a child whilst you're an adult. I think the bit about her being a 13-year-old in an adult's body, but being a rom-com as well. I think that's probably the bit that creeps me out. And I don't think we talked about it that much, but you see that bit where she's with her boyfriend and she's really uncomfortable, but then also then she's kind of pursuing Mark Ruffalo. I found that really kind of hard to reconcile. But otherwise, there's some fun performances. Serkis and Judy Greer and Mark Ruffalo. It's good to see them in there. And there's some heartwarming bits to take away, like how she talks to her assistant when the nasty Jennifer Garner, the nasty old Jenna never talks to her assistant, but this one does, and she talks to her parents when the nasty one didn't. So there's a few heartwarming bits to take away, but I think that relationship is a bit creepy. But yeah, so 3.
Sounds like Kobi wants to see the ultra-realistic Ken Loach version of this film where when she wakes up as a 30-year-old, she's just crying for like 2 hours. What? Such a traumatic experience, which I think Jennifer Garner pulls off very well.
Yes.
But there's definitely a darker film there. Louise, your recommendability.
I'm going to go for 3.5.
Ooh,
I
okay.
really like this film, I will say. But I think if you're open to the idea of rom-coms and like fun, light comedies, you will really enjoy this film. But I do understand there'll be a lot of people who would just automatically be like, absolutely not my thing at all.
Rom-coms do polarize people, don't they? It's very, very odd, I find, because they're such a joyous genre.
Some people just don't like joy in their lives. That's the problem.
True. Some people want the Ken Loach version of this.
What is your score, Sam?
I am a huge rom-com fan, and I think this is a really good example of that mid-noughties rom-com. They're like a bit postmodern, a little bit cheeky, with a great cast who would eventually become the Hulk in the Marvel film. And I would give it 4 out of 5, I think. I think like we should push a bit harder with rom-coms because a lot of people say they don't like them, but that's just because they haven't really seen any. And actually when you do watch and rom-com, which is good, they're like, oh yeah, turned my life around. Loved it. So yeah, I'm really sort of punching up, I guess, for rom-coms.
Absolutely, fair enough.
I think rom-coms do just get a bad rap. When they're bad, they're really just not interesting. And there's that kind of spate of the bad Matthew McConaughey ones, the bad Gerard Butler.
God, who cast Jenna in a rom-com? What were people thinking? Yeah. No, you're right. There's too many of those very bland, like, posters with just the plain white background.
Oh, with the red writing.
The stars, looking directly at the camera. That didn't do the rom-com cause any favours. Netflix is actually a bit of a hotbed for rom-coms now, though. I do think that they are sort of single-handedly keeping the genre alive.
You can go through someone's back catalogue quite easily in their rom-com section on Netflix. It's very easily done.
That's a top Netflix tip. Okay, so let's move on to our second score, which is repeat viewing. Helen, how do you rate the repeat viewability of 13 going on 30?
So my repeat viewing for this is a 5. I've watched it fairly recently, definitely during lockdown. It's kind of like one of my kind of comfort films. I'm not going to say guilty pleasures because I don't feel guilty watching it and no one should feel guilty watching it, but it's definitely my kind of comfort go-to as a kind of like adult one rather than a nostalgia for my childhood type one. I just think it's really funny. It's an hour and 37 minutes, so it's not particularly long. Bar Michael Jackson, I really like the soundtrack in it, and I just really like it set in New York as well. So every time I watch it, it's just kind of like got some nice New York bits in it as well to tick that box. I mean, who doesn't want to marry Mark Ruffalo and live in a New York City loft with his posters of Blue Velvet on the wall?
I don't.
I think that's a compelling case, Helen. But moving on to Kobi, repeat viewability.
Repeat viewing score is 1.5. I don't think I'll watch it again. Can't think of when I'm not ruling it out completely, but I can't think when that will happen.
If they remastered it and took out Thriller and put a different song in it.
No. I like the Thriller bit. I just thought it was kind of funny that everyone knew that dance when it was kind of such a specific, weird, kind of hard dance in that party. That's the thing I loved about it. No. 1.5.
Just no.
Okay, that's a hard no. Fair enough. Repeat viewability, Louise.
I'm going to go 4.
Wow, okay.
Because we actually watched it within the last sort of 3 months on like an ongoing film Netflix watching sort of party we had with some friends. And when it came up that we were coming on to talk about it on this podcast, it was like, oh, we've just watched it. Like, but okay, I wasn't like sure whether I wanted to watch it again, but then I did, and I was like, oh, it's really easy to watch again. Even though I sort of had just seen it, it was just very easy to watch again, and you do get a bit more out of it. Maybe there's things you pick up on the second watch that maybe you don't, that maybe you missed on the first time round. So for me, a 4.
Okay, it sounds like you're really pushing Kobi for that second viewing.
Just saying.
Hidden subtext. I watched it with you for the Netflix viewing party, and I think the prospect of coming on here and discussing 13 Going on 30 was really exciting. I feel like I had seen this film like a little while ago when I was, I don't know, like a few years ago maybe.
I think we'd watched it at university.
Maybe,
so we've definitely seen it before.
Yeah, so like, once every 10 years, that's pretty good. So I have repeat viewed it, and I really enjoyed it, on our second and sort of third times round. So, I want to give it a 4.
Give it a 4 then, Sam.
I want to give it a 4.
Go 4.
I haven't watched it as much as other films, but I would happily watch the film again right now. It's a 4. 13 going on 4 for me. There. Okay, and small screen score. Helen.
So I have seen this at the cinema. And other than things being bigger, it really doesn't offer that much to the viewing experience watching at home. So basically I got rid of all my DVDs for space reasons, basically. They just took up too much space and I don't have a DVD player. But I still have this on DVD.
Wow.
I don't know when I'm going to watch it because I don't have a DVD player, but... I think this one is perfect for watching on your TV at home, a nice kind of Sunday afternoon or whenever you need a little bit of a pick-me-up. So I'm going to give it a 5 for the small screen.
Nice. That sounds good. I'm jealous of your cinema. You got to see it in the cinema. I can't really see like places like, rep cinemas like the Prince Charles bringing it back. Maybe they should.
Maybe they should.
Maybe this
is a plea. If anyone from the Prince Charles is listening...
It could be a Mark Ruffalo rom-com series with just like Heaven, this, and maybe not Room Has It, because that one's a bit crap. But then it could maybe go on to the slightly more serious ones, and we could have The Kids Are All Right and Begin Again, maybe. Begin Again would be a nice one with this, I think, maybe.
That's a great season. I'd buy a ticket for that.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first, Prince Charles.
We had the guys, we had Phil and Jonathan from the Prince Charles podcast on, and they said, people legitimately do suggest seasons. So, Helen, we have their details now. Give them a shout.
Yeah. Make it happen. The first Flixwatcher Prince Charles screening.
On multiple play. That's the focus.
And we'll get Kobi specifically to introduce it because he obviously had so much fun watching this. Okay, Kobi. Small screen score.
5. I don't want to watch this in the big. I don't want to watch this in the cinema. When this comes out in the Prince Charles Ruffalo-a-thon, I'll probably duck out and go to Prince Charles Central and just hang out there for a bit.
Slice a cake, get a coffee, come back in an hour and 37 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I'll be front row at this Prince Charles screening. But I think I'm going to go 5 as well on small screen score. I think it's the absolutely perfect. I think it's a perfect Netflix film.
Yeah.
Stick it on Sunday afternoon. Sit back, relax. You haven't got to pay a vast amount of attention to it, but you'll have a great time. 5 from me.
Okay, that's a sort of feels like a backhanded compliment.
No, I think sometimes you just want that from a film, don't you? There are some films you just want to absorb.
Yes, I hear you on that, and that's the joy of a rom-com, I suppose, as well. Is it's quite an easy watch. You feel sort of quite comfortable and relaxed watching it. I think for me, it's probably a 4 again. I think I've just done 4s for this one. But yeah, it's a 4 on small screen. The reason being, it's totally fine on the small screen, but I'm very intrigued by this Mark Ruffalo-a-thon that we're scheduling at the French Charles. So I'd quite like to see big Ruffles and big Jen. I think that'd be fun. Okay, and then the last one is the engagement score, which is how difficult it would be for you to turn the film off once you started watching it. Over to Helen.
I mean, this isn't Inception. Let's be clear. The age up, age down, slight time travelling, you just kind of have to go with it. So it's not one of those that you have to be completely glued to the screen for. And it's also kind of one of those that it's probably not going to massively surprise you in the direction it's going. It's not really about that. It's about the journey, and it's about getting to be with these people and hang out and hope that, you know, everything works out the way that your heart wants to go. I mean, I watch, if it came on TV right now, I would sit there and watch it. It's one of those films for me. I'm going to give it 4.5 for engagement.
Okay, that's pretty engaging stuff. I also like that you compared it to Inception. That feels like it should be used in the marketing for this episode. Over to Kobi for engagement.
2.1.
Whoa! I mean, that's one of your higher scores. Well, how does it get 2.1?
I don't know.
You're moderately engaged.
It's just going on instinct.
Yeah.
At least it was only 1 hour and 37 minutes. It wasn't 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's kind of fine. I don't know. I was quite happy not paying attention to it. It's quite nice it being in the background, but I didn't really feel the need to pay attention. I was moderately interested to see if her plan would work for the Rejuvenated magazine, and I was like, yeah, okay, fine. And it's one of those, because we've got a young kid at the moment as well, you know, just working around him. So when we had to pause, I wasn't super keen to jump back into it. Whereas other films we watch, I'm like, oh God, do you go to sleep now so we can get back to the film? And this wasn't one of them. So yeah, 2.1.
I think that's a good measure of a film's engagement when you have to sort of compare it to looking after your child. Like, I could take only 13 going on 30. Okay, that's a good score to have. Louise?
I think I'm going to go 3.
Okay.
3, because I do, as I said, I do really like the film, but it is very easy to not pay attention to and wander away. Like, I did have to pause it a couple of times while watching it today, and I wasn't like, oh no, I must keep going. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that, really.
I feel like you wouldn't miss too many plot details if you did have to, like, go and answer the door, or you know, you fancy making a cup of tea, but you might miss one of the, you know, you could miss an amazing moment, you could miss a dance scene, you could miss something really charming from Ruffalo there. I think for me, I'm going to go a little bit higher, maybe 3.5 on engagement. Because of that, you know, I just would hate to, like, be a bit distracted and miss, like, an absolute gem from Mr. Ruffles.
But one of those gems at the moment is when they're on the swings and they kind of fall off and have a tussle, and she says, "Oh, you've got arm hair."
Oh, yeah, it's really sweet.
It's
a sweet moment.
She's 13. She's 13.
That's why she says it. It's like super cute. She's like, "Oh, you've got arm hair," because it's the kind of thing that a 13-year-old would say.
But then she's getting off with a 30-year-old man.
Oh, maybe it's
just me. Maybe it's just me.
Do you watch Big in the same way then? Because obviously,
yeah, because when I was a kid, I was like, hilarious. You know, the whole like a sleepover. Sure, why not? Yeah, it's definitely creepy. Yeah, but that's only a small part of it, though, isn't it? And he's not pursuing her character in Big. Am I right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like.
There's kind of like a little bit of the darkness in Big, in that you're like, it's kind of implied that maybe something did happen, but nothing is shown, which is a bit strange.
I feel like in this it's more like, I don't know, I think the romance is a little bit more innocent. Like, she's learning a lot along the way about herself.
The two men that are, like, actively sexually attracted to her, like the husband that comes in and the boyfriend, she rejects them outright. But the one man she does go after is the one who just likes her as a person. Which I think maybe there's something there. She is actively rejecting what would be very creepy relationships. And she's inviting the wholesome one in.
Yeah, I think this is it's a bit of a moral maze of a film in that respect, but in terms of debatability, this film is a 5 out of 5.
It'd be interesting to see whether it would get greenlit now, whether they'd say, yeah, that's totally fine, and whether they'd have any kind of things like that now. I mean, it was quite a long time ago, and more innocent times for filmmaking, times when you could have Michael Jackson on the soundtrack. So yeah.
I wonder if they might go like a Frozen route if it was made now, and it'd be more about like a friendship, like maybe rediscovering a friendship with someone she fell out with.
Yeah, definitely. So it would be like the Mark Ruffalo thing, but that would just be like a platonic.
Yeah.
Rather than getting married at the end. Spoilers, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a fun idea for a film, and I do like a body swap thing, so it might be fun if someone did want to remake it. Choose another Marvel cast member and do it this time. I'm fascinated to know what the final score is on this film.
Higher than I thought it was going to be. 3.75625.
That's not bad.
I think seems pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it clearly wasn't for everybody, but I do think this is it's definitely an above average film. So 3.75 makes total sense. Is that sort of like a standardy sort of Flixwatcher score, or is that high on this pod?
That's a touch above average, I'd say. Let me just refer to our scoreboard. Go to flixwatcher.tv/scoreboard, and you can arrange things by overall score. And
I do think this has maybe been pushed up because there are 3 of us that actually really like it.
Yeah, and that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah.
So as a meter, Wolf of Wall Street scored 3.71. So
you heard it here first.
This scored higher than Wolf of Wall Street, so this is that's about middle of the table.
Helen, as the selector of the film, is that sort of where you wanted to see it?
I mean, it's just been really nice to talk to you about this film and hear your thoughts on it as well, because it's one of those, if I was to kind of list my top 10 films and the last sort of films that I had on kind of my watch list or I've seen recently, this is kind of like pretty out there in terms of what I normally watch. So it's just been a nice opportunity to talk about something that's kind of a bit fun and a bit different and has Mark Ruffalo in, and that you also enjoy. So yeah, thanks for voting for it, mystery Twitter voters, and for hosting. And I'm sorry, Kobi, that it didn't live up to your Mark Ruffalo dreams.
It's good to watch these films. It's good to watch them.
I'm glad that we got to sort of, like Kobi got to at least sort of see it and try it for himself to see if it was for him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
On that note, should we have a look at what Twitter has to say?
Yes, a very
had any comments
point.
And reviews?
I feel like we should get Helen, as it was Helen's choice, to start this one.
So, as always, we will put a little shout out for the film that we're reviewing. So do follow us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod. And we had one in, and this is from George McGee. One of my wife's favourite films. Excellent choice there. A charming performance from Garner, but I can't tell if Ruffalo is embarrassed to be in the film or just acting awkwardly very well. It's no big, but it's an easy watch. And then we've got 3 little dancing emojis. Thank you, George.
Oh, I think that's a good sort of summary. And Ruffalo is definitely just absolutely being brilliant, and he's not embarrassed to be here. If nothing else, he would be paid lots of money. So he's working hard. Wow. Okay. Well, that was really fun. That was a fun film to dip into, I think.
It was. I didn't think I'd ever go on a podcast to talk about 13 going on 30. So it's been excellent fun. Thank you very much, guys, for having us on.
Well, no, thank you guys for guest hosting. And before you go, just do say to everyone listening, do follow Louise and Sam, otherwise known as 90 Minutes or Less Film Fest. It's a great fun show, talking about films which everyone can watch in under 90 minutes, which is always a blessing. Never unhappy to see a film that's got a runtime of 90 minutes or less.
It's definitely sort of it can make me very, very intrigued to watch a film when I see the runtime. Like, oh, under 90 minutes, yes, please. You must have that on Flixwatcher. If a guest chooses a particularly short film, do you do like a little fist bump?
I think Helen does a little dance in the garden.
That's the first thing I check. And I guess thanks for hosting, and thanks to everyone for listening to all of these episodes. We hope you continue listening, and we'll, as long as Netflix keeps providing the films, we'll keep providing the episodes.
If Netflix sinks, then that's it. We're gone. Which is fair enough.
You have to visit. Either you could be a Disney Plus watcher or Apple TV watcher.
We'll just pivot.
Well, happy 200 episodes, Flixwatcher, and here's to 200 more.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
Cool.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell him Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.